A FIFA World Cup referee arrived in the United States with a valid visa. Hours later, he was on a plane home, not because he broke any rules, not because FIFA changed its mind, because border officials refused to let him enter the country. And suddenly, people around the world started asking a question nobody expected before the biggest World Cup in history. How can you host the world if parts of the world can't get in? The 2026 FIFA World Cup was supposed to be football's greatest celebration. 48 teams, 3 host nations, 104 matches, the biggest World Cup ever. FIFA called it the most inclusive tournament in history, but before many fans had even entered a stadium, the tournament was already surrounded by controversy. Referees denied entry, players stuck in visa limbo, fans losing thousands of dollars, and ticket prices so high they sparked legal complaints. This isn't the story of what happened on the pitch, it's the story of everything happening around it. Let's start with the referee who became the face of the controversy. Omar Artan, a respected referee from Somalia, had been selected by FIFA to officiate at the World Cup. For referees, that's one of the highest honors in football. He had his visa, his paperwork was approved, everything seemed normal. Then he landed in Miami. He was detained, questioned, and ultimately denied entry. Just like that, his World Cup was over before it even started. FIFA later confirmed that Artan would not participate in the tournament, and while they expressed disappointment, they also pointed out something important. Immigration decisions are made by host countries, not FIFA, but the damage was already done. Because people immediately started asking a simple question. If a FIFA-appointed referee can't get into the country, who else can't? The answer quickly became clear. This wasn't an isolated case. Reports emerged of other football personnel running into problems at the border. An Iraqi team photographer was reportedly detained for hours before ultimately being denied entry. Fans from multiple countries reported visa problems despite already purchasing tickets, flights, and hotels. For many supporters, attending a World Cup isn't just a vacation. It's a dream years in the making. And suddenly, that dream was looking uncertain. Then things became even more complicated. Iran qualified for the World Cup. But tensions between Iran and the United States created a situation football had never really faced before. Several members of Iran's staff reportedly experienced visa issues. Players were eventually approved, but only shortly before the tournament began. According to reports, the team had to base much of its operation in Mexico rather than the United States. Imagine preparing for the biggest tournament of your career while dealing with international border crossings at the same time. It's hardly ideal. And behind all of this was a larger concern. Millions of visitors were expected to travel across North America for the World Cup. Even a small increase in visa denials could affect thousands of people. Not statistics. Actual fans. Actual families. Actual supporters who had spent years waiting for this moment. And immigration wasn't the only controversy. Because even if you got into the country, there was still another obstacle. The price. For decades, World Cup tickets were expensive, but generally predictable. Then FIFA introduced dynamic pricing, the same system used by airlines and ride-share apps. When demand goes up, prices go up. And when fans saw the numbers, many were stunned. Group stage tickets climbed into the hundreds of dollars, but it was the final that really grabbed attention. Some of the cheapest available tickets were listed at more than $4,000. The most expensive approached $9,000 for a single seat. Think about that. A family of 4 could easily spend more on tickets than on a car. Almost overnight, the conversation shifted. Fans weren't asking whether they could attend. They were asking whether they could afford to. The backlash was immediate. Supporter organizations criticized FIFA. Consumer groups filed complaints. Critics argued that loyal fans were being priced out of the very tournament they helped make special. After all, football's atmosphere doesn't come from executives. It comes from supporters, the people who travel across continents, the people who fill stadiums, the people who create unforgettable moments. And many of those people felt shut out. Then another strange thing happened. Reports suggested some matches weren't selling out as quickly as expected. Not because people didn't care, but because many simply couldn't justify the cost. For the biggest World Cup in history, that was a surprising headline. And the controversies didn't stop there. Critics questioned the expanded format. This tournament features 48 teams and 104 matches, far more than previous World Cups. Supporters love more football. But others argue that bigger isn't always better. More travel, more scheduling challenges, more opportunities for problems. And when you combine all of that with visa issues and pricing controversies, the tournament starts to feel chaotic before the football even begins. Which raises a bigger question. Has the World Cup become too large for its own good? Because on paper, FIFA's vision sounds fantastic. More teams, more countries, more opportunities, more representation. It's a genuinely ambitious idea. But global tournaments don't run on ambition alone. They run on accessibility. And that's where many people believe this World Cup has struggled. The promise was inclusion. The reality, according to critics, often felt very different. Referees turned away. Fans facing visa uncertainty. Supporters priced out of matches. Stories of exclusion dominating headlines before the football itself. And every new controversy added to the same uncomfortable question. Is this really the most accessible World Cup ever? The strange thing is that none of these issues have anything to do with football itself. The players still play, the goals still count, the trophy still matters. But World Cups are more than sporting events. They're global celebrations. And celebrations only work when people can actually attend them. Maybe once the knockout rounds begin, the football will become the story again. Maybe unforgettable goals and dramatic matches will make people forget the controversies. That's certainly what FIFA is hoping. But for now, the biggest World Cup in history is teaching a surprising lesson. Hosting the world and welcoming the world are not always the same thing.